Okay, so everyone is here. We're going to discuss now, after the wonderful session on building AI security career. It's now how do you build roadmap, 2026 roadmap as AI security teams. Um, and for the panel, we have over here with us Dan, Kay, Matt. So Dan, starting from you, Dan comes as a principal AI security architect from Zoominfo. Why don't you introduce yourself, Dan? So you are on
Yeah,
mute.
yeah. We have to do that once a session, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been with Zoominfo for getting close to 3 years, and so I started the AI security practice there. Zoominfo was an early adopter, and so when I joined the company, it was in that role.
Perfect. And thank you. Thanks, Dan, for joining. Kay,
Hey,
so Kay, hi, Kay.
hi.
Kay, we've known each other for more than a year now. He's recently joined Cargill. He's the director application security there. Kay, a little bit of introduction on yourself.
Yeah. I'm Katharnath, goes by K. Recently joined 3 months ago in Cargill for Director for Application Security. My previous stint was I was with Intercontinental Exchange for 11 years and then managing the application security team over there.
Amazing. And then we have Matt over here. Hi, Matt. He's the manager, technical staff security at Cohere. Matt, introduction on yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. Excited to be here. Said I'm Matt Maloney. I'm the product security lead at Cohere. I lead security for our Agentic platform North. Outside of Cohere, I'm a workstream lead for the AI supply chain security workstream at the Coalition for Secure AI, otherwise known as COSI. That work focuses on how AI systems consume and depend on external components, models, tools, data sources. Yeah, excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Great. Dan, Kay, Matt, let's start with the AI security roadmap for 2026. Okay, I'm going to start with the very first question, and this is something I hear a lot from teams we work with, which is, and when we talk about roadmap, everyone has a different way to think about it, from a crawl, walk, and run approach. So what's that crawl, walk, and run approach? According to you, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that your organization is implementing or you are implementing. It could be just general your opinion. What should that approach be for the AI security teams? So maybe starting with Dan, you.
Yeah, I would say for the crawl, it's securing the agentic platform with more traditional infrastructure. So, for example, infrastructure isolation between your data sources, your agents, your MCP servers, and such. It's relatively straightforward to do to have these distinct planes so that you can physically block lateral movement if you get a compromise. So I think that's the first thing to do. It just requires a clear architectural vision, and it uses, to some extent, traditional skill sets.
Awesome. Maybe Kay, what about
Yeah,
you?
for the crawl, walk, and run approach for agentic AI security, I would say in the crawl phase, right? We need to I like when I talk about AI security or anything, I'll always associate to the application security and then try to embed along with that, right? So in that scenario, I would like to have all the inventory and visibilities of all the agents available within the environment and have MVP or minimum viable product like for the baseline security controls and awareness and training towards that would be the stuff that I would look at crawl and then the walk. And are we going through all or just we are stopping at the crawl phase?
If you think, I mean, crawl for sure, but walk and run, if you have some opinion there, would love to know.
So the walk would be like, having integrate with the secure SDLC phase. Like if you have a DevSecOps processes, like, have them integrate to that would be my walk, and run would be like, the final end goal of like, detection and like, response kind of thing. Like how, like if you can get it to the run phase, it should be like, um, that like, a few years ago, how API was treated separate. Now it's part of the puzzle in the regular application security. I think that's the run phase, I would say.
Got it. Awesome. So visibility, DevSecOps as a walk, and run would be detection and response.
Yep.
Nice. Perfect. Matt, your opinion there.
Yeah, I agree with Daniel and Kay, and I kind of want to double down on like the crawl aspect. Assuming you've got your ducks in an order around your cloud infrastructure and application security level, like hygiene and stuff like that. I think it's kind of critical to have visibility into what's going on your platform. Instrument like all your agents, your interactions, get your baseline security telemetry, inventory your agents, what tools you're using, what data they're accessing, what users are using them. Build a baseline. What is your normal across your platform? This is the information you're going to use to be able to kind of go and detect what's an outlier, what's anomalous. I'll use a like analogy or an example that kind of fits well this crawl, walk, run. We've been kind of very focused on the concept of applying guardrails and applying them with contextual information across our platform. I think crawl in that was, monitoring and just collecting information, collecting baselines on what maybe false positives look like. Walk would be kind of enforcing kind of selectively, the agents that are processing untrusted contacts, browsing the internet, processing emails. Those are situations that are potentially ripe for like a latent injection or something like that. So making sure you're running your guardrails through those tool calls, stuff like that. And then I would say like the run stage is, proactive enforcement, platform level enforcement, ensuring that you have the controls in place, that nothing's really like falling through the cracks. And you have those assurances and governance in place to ensure that that's actually happening. So that's kind of how I would lay out, crawl, walk, run a little bit.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
And if I could finish it on Ankita, so I can do the walk, run with my colleagues too. I think too, it has to do with the level of sophistication of the agentic platform that you're supporting. So in our case, I would say walk is supporting single agent workflows. They're multi-step, multi-turn, but it does allow you, and typically they're probably operating primarily under the agency of a human, but still it allows you to establish observability, human in the loop thresholds. You support and secure your MCP tools, RAG and context engineering. So all of that is really necessary even for single agent, but multi-step workflows. And then for us, run is multi-agent workflows that are largely autonomous. And then that gets into some of the things that were mentioned earlier today about distinct agentic non-human identity, short-lived credentials, dynamic authorization, and so on. So I would say the security too is the level of sophistication as to what you're deploying. And that's 3 levels of looking at it as well.
Got it. Thank you, Dan. So this is a different approach in the sense that it's looking at the complexity of the systems that you have for the crawl, walk, run approach, right? And rightly so, because every organization has very different kind of way they are adopting agentic systems. Some have gone into the whole autonomous and agentic workflows, but some are just really adopting very basic systems. So makes sense. And for all 3 of you, I think the one theme that I'm hearing is for crawl, it's visibility. It's visibility and observability. That is definitely the same. And then walk and run can really depend on where the organization sits today. Awesome. So for the audience over here, if you're starting today, if you're in your crawl approach, visibility would be your number one priority. Great. So the next thing would be to understand how are organizations redefining the business function or teams for agentic AI security? And I think this goes with the last panel also. This is very important to understand. Um, who's owning all of this, right, in roadmap? Is it the AI team, engineering team, AI security team? Is this with risk function? Who's really owning it? Are business functions being redefined because of AI security, or is it the same business functions, but now one of the function owns AI security? So maybe Matt, starting with you.
Yeah, this is a really good question, and I think it's kind of dependent on what your objectives are, like as a company. And I'm going to speak a little anecdotally about some of the stuff we've seen at Cohere and in selling our platform north. A lot of like the larger companies that we've seen, what they've done is kind of spun up a center of excellence that is focused on AI enablement across the organization. So driving adoption, driving initial use cases where they can get the most leverage and stuff like that. And I think that model kind of applies really well. It's a large umbrella center of excellence, kind of like owning kind of the entirety end to end. And I think kind of AI security can fit well under that model. For us as Cohere, I think we kind of we are really focused on we build foundational models. So AI is kind of embedded throughout our entire company, which is not necessarily, that doesn't map to every other company very well. So it's kind of like native for us versus how we've seen some larger companies that have been around a lot longer that go and spin up a function around a center of excellence or something like that. For an AI native organization, I think AI security goes and is tightly coupled to your product development features. What is the one thing that comes from like an AI native company? You guys are shipping more code than your counterparts. The velocity at which you're shipping your products and stuff like that. So the AI security team has to be working closely with this product development team, staying on top of it, and also adopting the tools that give them the same leverage that your developer counterparts are using. I think that's kind of most important. The AI security function can't be the roadblock. You have to be, leveling up your velocity as well to match the speed of your development team.
Got it. Thanks, Matt. So wonderful concept, though, by the way, on the AI COE that you're talking about, right? Not every company has it. If you're and this could be at the organization level or at the big teams level as well. So that's one way. The other way is, as you mentioned, tightly coupling every project or product decision with security, and really not making it just a function level accountability. That's another way. Okay, leveraging on that, is any opinion here?
Yeah, I had the same idea that like we should have a center of excellence for AI. And again, when I say that center of excellence for AI should be the short-term goal, and then the long term would be tightly coupling them with the existing security team or existing engineering team, what they do and do it. Right now, as we know, like the area is like no one is expert, right? So we are learning as we go. It's as same as like what developer knows is what the security team knows. So we are learning. So the center of excellence team and then working closely with them makes sense. And then the further we go, once we learn the law of the land for AI, I would say, then we may have the existing teams to adopt that.
Got it. Yeah, and I think you're touching upon a theme that we heard in the last couple of hours also, which is, it's really a joint effort. It's really a joint team effort. You have to work with development team, you have to work with the COE, you have to work with AI teams to make sure AI security is implemented
Yeah.
today, at least. Dan, what's your thought there?
So 3 thoughts, 2 of which are identical to the comments just made. So it's nice to see reinforcement and alignment. So, with regard to Matt's point about an AI center of excellence, team, in ISO 42001's certification compliance perspectives, that they call it an AI governance board. It's the same thing. So I think having a board, a body that is responsible for AI strategy and is ultimately responsible for the outcome, because there's many implementers, there's many phasers. Somebody's got to drive the strategy and be responsible for the ultimate outcome. So I agree with that 100%. The second thing, which was already mentioned, is as cybersecurity experts, we have to be embedded within the development teams, because the technology really doesn't exist to secure these new platforms unless you do a secure by design reference architecture implementation from the ground up. You can't just build it and then do threat modeling alone after the fact. So being embedded within the development and engineering teams is something we found very successful. And then the third thing, which is the only additional thing to what's been mentioned, is on an individual basis, we have to refactor our own individual activities around a native AI function. So something as simple as just processing all of the technical information that you need to keep up with it. There's AI tools, Notebook LM, that are AI research assistants and such. So you have to take your own individual function and you have to be pure native AI in order to just keep up with the obligations that you have. So I would say those are 3 things.
Wow, awesome. Thank you. I think there's a lot of overlap in the thought there. So I guess having some kind of a COE, central function, governing body, all of those words are being used, is key. Second is, of course, I think another theme that I heard is embedding yourself to the development function, embedding yourself to the product development as a whole for AI security is important, especially if you're building agentic apps, especially if you're building MCPs, agents, any of those things. Awesome. So moving on that note to, I think we covered a little bit of this. I can skip this. So should AI security become a standalone team, or is it part of traditional security functions? The thought is, at least for me from this conversation, that it could be, there are 2 ways to look at it. It could be a COE function within organization, a governing body, or it also has to be part of a little bit of traditional security teams, like the product security and the cloud security and the infrasec, etc. should also own AI security in their own aspects in some way. Maybe a little bit of thought, maybe Matt, from you on this.
Yeah, I honestly feel like starting out, it's probably a little bit easier to kind of have like a standalone function. And then as I see this happening over time, as these tools become more native processes for your engineering work and your business, like it just becomes part of the regular business and becomes embedded across those teams rather than this like standalone thing. I think it's like a sign of maturity from spinning up initially to just getting adopted into those existing silos processes. Well, silos, bad analogy, but existing business unit processes and incorporating the functions that probably this initial team is figuring out and the policies and the governance that will be, consumed by the rest of the business units as the function matures over time. So I think they're kind of like setting out the roadmap initially. And then as this happens, just as traditional security is like getting adopted across the org, I think these processes over time will just become naturally more embedded across the org as these tools become more pervasive.
Got it. Yeah, and so embedding is the key, right? Instead of just having like a standalone function for this, because that really doesn't help in security and secure adoption of AI or secure building of AI if you're having a standalone function.
Yeah.
I guess.
To the point, I think as things are, rapidly increasing in pace, the closer you are to that rapid innovation and acceleration, the better off, the tighter your iteration loops are going to be over time. I feel like if you have this like spoke and wheel kind of model, you might be asking for a little bit of a bottleneck at some point, as opposed to like getting this embedded future, which I think is like a little bit more conducive to faster iteration times and velocity.
Got it. Thank you. Dan, any differing thought, same thought? What is your opinion here?
So what we've done is we've kind of gone to choice number 3, which is the entire traditional security team has been transformed into an AI-first cybersecurity team.
Wow.
And I think the reason why that's so important, I tried to think of why that's so important. If you take a security domain that is largely unchanged, so let's say network security, and even if you say, okay, network security it's such a low level of the technology stack, it's largely unchanged. But even then, think about what a network security specialist has to be concerned about now. You have AI-enabled adversaries that are using agents to probe the infrastructure. They're finding vulnerabilities. They're writing exploits in real time at scale. So even a network security engineer, where the mitigations to a large extent may be the same, needs to be an AI native security expert as well. And in order for them to respond to that, they have to have AI automation defenses. So it's just an example of how even a traditional, somewhat unchanged security discipline really has to become AI native. So we've actually transformed the entire traditional cybersecurity function so that everyone is AI security in some fashion.
Wow. This is wonderful. So, I mean, we're talking about roadmap over here, and we talked about skills in the last session. Roadmap is fundamentally not possible if you're not building those skills, right? If you're not embedding your own work you're not embedding AI into your own work, right? Then I'd ask a follow-up question there. Has it helped to transform this, or is it new? It's still a little bit early to see results.
Oh, no, I think cybersecurity teams are having a challenge to keep up with the threats, right? So I think it's just been essential just to even try to keep pace. So yeah, and I think all of the team members, all of the individuals, they're eager to participate in that. Nobody wants to be static. So I think it's been good for the individual, good for the organization.
Awesome. Kay, what's your thought there?
My thought, at least, was from my standpoint, is to have a separate, standalone security team with respect to all aspects of cybersecurity, working with the center of excellence. And so it is like, one team in contact for everything. Have our center of excellence work like security team, like find the talent who can bridge the gap between all the other teams, and then I have them stood up there, and then later do it with the traditional security functions. By doing so, what means is like that is the final state, like what Dan said, right? That have the traditional team more into the AI native security team, right?
Got it. Thank you. Okay, so I think there are two approaches over here, and none. It's not that one will work and one will not work. I think it really depends on what stage of the organization you are at, what is your maturity in AI, what skills do the team have. All of those things matter. But the another approach is basically having a COE for AI security in your organization, and then all the traditional cybersecurity functions kind of reach out to them for any kind of support when it comes to AI cyber support, learning, embedding AI in their own function. So this is another approach, of course. So pretty cool. Moving on to the next one, which is we are talking lots about teams over here, giving finite teams and budgets. Given finite teams and budgets, what processes should teams prioritize to ensure AI security? So this is always a question. And Akto is a vendor. I am talking to customers all the time where the budgets are constrained, the teams do not have bandwidth, all of this always remains, right? So we said, oh, this should be a crawl, walk, run, and there should be visibility first and then identity and whatnot, right? But is how do we prioritize when we talk about practicality, right? With the current budget, with the current team, with the current skill, how do we prioritize in really practical scenario? Anyone over here? Maybe Matt, starting
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and it's a really good question. And prioritizing is hard because there's usually a series of trade-offs. And this is going to tie back into my first answer on crawl, walk, run, kind of. But I can't emphasize enough how important being able to get some visibility and telemetry into what's actually running in your environment and how agents are getting used, how these tools are being used. You can't really secure what you don't see or have visibility into. And if you don't have that layer of observability, that's getting into your SIM, or have a mechanism to go iterate and search over this information, you're going to be flying in the dark a little bit. You're not going to have the true understanding of what is being used across your enterprise. So I would say this is kind of like a critical piece. You need to be able to kind of see what's going on to be able to secure it. So I would, start at that baseline.
Got it. So prioritize visibility, in the with the finite teams and budgets. At least start with that.
Yeah, that's a baseline, because you can go add tools and stuff, but if you find out that, like, oh, you had a huge swath of agents, or there's a subset of your org using this tool that wasn't approved or something like that, you're starting off on a rocky foundation.
Correct. And I think the point that you touched is also use your existing platforms and tools to, even to start with that process, given and we are talking about budgets and skills over here, given the budgets, etc., start with your existing tools to even have that crawl approach. Correct.
Exactly. Yeah. Use what you have, trying to now don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, what do you think?
Another very similar thought. I hate to be so agreeable all the time, but I think you have to first of all build an AI security infrastructure. And so that has several components. The first is what Matt just mentioned. AI inventory management, discovery, AI artifact discovery. There's some very good solutions that will examine notebooks and code repos, cloud services, and extract what your AI artifacts are. So now you have some visibility. They'll even look at the telemetry logs and reverse engineer what AI solutions are being used. So that's your AI security platform. That's the first thing. And then to finish the infrastructure, somebody in an earlier session mentioned having an AI inference gateway so that you don't have ungoverned, uncontrolled access of the model. So that's another solid industry solution that you can build or you can acquire. We've done both. We have a homegrown solution and we have two commercial solutions. And then there's also having an MCP gateway. So in a similar way, you have governance over your MCP access. And some commercial solutions are both an AI inference gateway and an MCP gateway. But you have to build the AI security infrastructure first. And then you have somewhat of a chance to keep up with all the things that we're talking about.
Got it. So checking on your current tools for visibility, checking on logs, and really for visibility, having something like an MCP gateway or an AI gateway to start with, right? Okay, building on this, you agree, don't agree? What do you think?
I agree. And then one thing that I would also like to add is to what processes, right? Like if on the design stage, shift left, like inventory that, catalog that, get what is gonna get into the system, and have them prioritize that would, like, what is, like, it is again going back to our, like, catching them early before it's implemented, where during the design phase, using your existing processes, if you have one for the design review or threat modeling or architecture review, like, having that would, like, give more visibility into that. And that would be the one that I would be liking to prioritize if the processes exist
Got it. So design.
within the ecosystem. Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, on adding on all the things that Matt and Dan mentioned, of course, prioritize on your current tools, look at logs, look at MCP gateway. But I mean, the low-cost solution is actually amazing. Design reviews, right? Do the design
Yeah.
reviews. It's not, it's part of traditional security anyway. You know how to do it. You've been doing it for 10 plus 20 years, whatever. And so maybe bring that as part of your AI security program in the beginning, and start with design reviews.
Yeah.
Perfect. The next one is okay. So this is interesting. In 2026, or in any year for that matter, how much of AI security success depends on tools versus changes in org structure, ownership, and decision making? And this is also about teams in some sense, but yeah, I have some opinion over here. I'll share once I get your thoughts. Starting with Matt, what's your thought?
Sure.
Making you start first always.
That's fine. That's fine. I was going to end up agreeing with these guys anyway. So, I think this is a really interesting question. I think tools are really important. They give you visibility in certain things. You buy specific tools to do specific things, either visibility or action on events. The tooling creates a possibility of good decisions, but I think the org structure essentially is going to be determining, who's kind of, well, I would say take a step back, whether those decisions actually get made and acted upon. So you can have as many tools as you want, but if you don't have a process or in place or the autonomy to go take action on those types of events that might be coming in, I think that's why the org structure is really important. Giving, you don't want to have something that is totally disconnected, like a tool that you can't really action on what's coming across and make it, have viable outcomes. And I know that's a very abstract, high level way to put that. But I think, the org structure is going to be what empowers you to make the right decision with the tools that you actually have. So kind of go hand in hand. And I know that was probably a little too high level, but we can just start there.
No, this is perfect, Matt. It's not one answer, and I'll share my opinion in some time. But I think Dan, maybe why don't you share your thoughts here? Tools versus org structures, or both together, or what?
Yeah, I think it's the order of the sequence is key. So first of all, we've talked about the AI governance framework, right? Whether the Center of Excellence, or AI governance body. So that's organizational. And there's some good frameworks that you can follow. So I mentioned ISO 42001. There's the NIST risk management framework. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is you have to have clear security frameworks to match the AI governance framework, because there's so many subdomains to AI security. There's, runtime inference security, MLOps, agentic, semantic data security, and so on. And there's good industry frameworks that you can follow there. There's OWASP and the Cloud Security Alliance and so on. Then once you do that, now you know which tools to get. but you don't know which tools to get, or you don't know what to do with them, even if you guess at the right ones, until you've done those things first. So I think obviously you need all of it, but it's the sequence that's critical. And as has already been mentioned, the organizational alignment is the first and foremost.
Got it. Very right point, right? Like, I mean, it's not one versus other, it's more a sequence which is important. And that's true for any kind of process, any kind of program that you're starting with. But really, you're starting with alignment, team alignment, business alignment. You're having the right team before you even start with tools or frameworks or process. Then you start with, there are already frameworks in the world. Why don't you start with that? So teams, frameworks, having a process, and then tools, probably. Kay, what about you?
Yeah, tools versus change in org structure, right? Like, I would say like without the proper team with the proper decision making or processes, the tools are not gonna help. At least like tools are like the enablers of information for you, and what you're gonna do with that information, how we are gonna go, is what my philosophy on this one.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I agree. Okay, so see, for any kind of program, and in my opinion, I think you guys are all touching the same thing. You've got to have team, you've got to have the right process, you've got to have, especially if you're a large organization, right? Accountability, budgets, everything before you even start with the process, before you even start with spending on tools. It's That's my opinion. I mean, of course, people can say, agents are going to replace the employees, people, everything. But at the same, I mean, at the same time, your people are so important to even run those agents, to build those agents, right? Same goes with cybersecurity tooling. You really need the right skill set, right people. You attain certain kind of maturity before you invest your time, energy in a tooling. And especially for large organizations, buying a tool is one thing, but actually implementing it takes time, effort,
Yep.
money, of course, all of those things. So yeah, that's I mean, coming from a vendor, but this is my approach. I actually tell teams that you're not ready for tooling. You should go back to policy creations and processes before you come to tooling, because otherwise it's an unsuccessful program for us also. We want customer success. So okay, so we have about 5 minutes left. Open to questions now, guys. I'll stop sharing. So there is Q&A. I do have lots of questions, but let's start with what people have to say. Oh, there is. So can the panel comment on low cost process enhancements to focus on example incident response? Yeah, so there was a cost question earlier. And so anyone has any thought on any low cost process enhancement?
I can make a comment on this. I think, incident response is a really interesting place to apply like the idea of agents to. And I think you can do some low cost alternatives using low cost models that are really good at doing search. I think what gives you, agents are great at like doing search and stuff like that. Connect them to the tools they need. You can you don't necessarily need like the equivalent of like an Opus 4.6 to go and search your SOC or something like that. You can use a lightweight model and just use that to go and enrich your incident, or you kick off an agent that goes and pulls in that information, adds context, searches your 3 or 4 tools that you have already coupled or already using for incident response, and you just reduce the time that you would have to manually go in and search that. Obviously, there's an upfront cost with setting that up and being able to kick off that job to go do those searches with those agents. But I think once you actually do the upfront investment, this is a repeatable process that will, eventually return its value over time. And I think there's a lot of different kind of low-hanging pieces of security, low-hanging fruit in the security world around that similar type idea, using tools to enrich your contacts and just give you the information you need in a faster time.
Got it. Awesome. Dan, Kay, any thought on this, or you agree with Matt? Anything to add?
I don't think I have anything more than Matt added. So
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I agree that the key to make that successful is to have a central repository for your telemetry data. So that's again the benefit. If you have an AI inference gateway, it can feed to your central repository observability platform. If you got an MCP gateway, the same thing. So that governance then gives you the data, and then so the ability to correlate all these different signals is critical, but it can be done relatively inexpensively. Yeah.
Got it. I have a question on this, especially because we are talking about the roadmap for AI security. It's all of you at some point must have faced a challenge of talent generally in AI security. Sure, if you already had cybersecurity teams large enough who could build those skills, great. But have you had challenges on from hiring perspective, or thinking about how do I build this AI security team, not just from upskilling the current team, but actually looking at talent outside? Anyone here?
I would say that the one thing I really look for the most is, honestly, a passion and or curiosity to understand what's going around. I would say even the past 4 months, I think software engineering has kind of fundamentally changed with some of the latest model releases on how we approached developing writing software. And with that has come a bunch of changes in the security world. Look at the announcements that have happened over the past couple of weeks. Doesn't necessarily have to stay on top of anything, but being able to show that you have the curiosity that you want to stay on top of this and you are willing to learn on some of these. You don't necessarily have to check all the boxes of my job description. I think those are all nice to have, and mostly just kind of a first pass. But I think it's being able to get the point across that you're a curious and knowledge hungry person is what I'm mostly looking for.
Got it. So curiosity is important, right? Ability to learn, potential to learn, wanting to learn, experimental mindset, all of those are things that you're looking at.
100%.
Great. We are kind of at time. Anything that you guys want to add before we conclude the session, guys? No?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. This is wonderful. We have great insights on 2026 roadmap for AI security teams. So everyone who's part of it, I think you can watch the recording later also, but wonderful insights from everyone over here. Thanks, Matt, Kay, Dan. Thank you. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Great being on the panel with you all.
Same here.
Likewise.
Thank you. Bye-bye.